There, it was hitting the blacktop and that.
Good evening and welcome to Lower Frederick Township's May 19th, 2026 work session. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, all members of the board are present, including our staff, township manager, township solicitor, our chief of police, and our township engineer. Township meetings are recorded for the purpose of preparing the minutes, and the recording is destroyed after the minutes are approved. The meeting will be posted online on the township YouTube channel. The link can be found on the Board of Supervisors page on the township website. It is requested that all persons wishing to speak before the board shall state their name, address, and the subject matter upon which they wish to speak for the record. In the interest of facilitating the business of the board, all persons addressing the board shall be limited to 3 minutes unless such time is extended for the chair for good cause. Individuals are requested to remain in their seats and respect when other persons are speaking. The Board of Supervisors will provide a reasonable opportunity for citizens to comment on any non-agenda items after all agenda items have been addressed, but prior to the adjournment of the public meeting. Okay, we're going to roll right into our business this evening. First up is the zoning hearing board application for 156 Steiner Way. Mr. Stokes? You're going to get more than 3 minutes. It's okay. Yeah.
If someone wants to go first, that's okay.
No, we're gonna give you the. Yes, yes. So what I do need you to do is just make sure that your microphone is on and that you're speaking clearly so that people on Zoom can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay, sorry. I had asked to send some photos so that you guys had them for review. Yeah. I did, yes. They were, okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. And then, would you also mind if I gave a copy of this to each of you? It's just a copy for one of the.
That's fine.
Okay, sorry. First of all, let me apologize. I just finished my 6th day, 13-hour day, and I am very tired. So I wrote everything down to make sure that I communicated everything that was needed, and hopefully I'm not too scratchy, that we can all understand me. First off, I really appreciate you guys letting me be here. Like it was mentioned, my name is Preston Stokes. I'm the owner of 156 Steiner Way. My wife and kids wanted to be here, but they couldn't make it. My wife had to take them to swim lessons today. But I apologize for not being present last week as well, or I think it was 2 weeks ago at this point, at the township meeting to address some of the questions and concerns. Despite that, I truly feel that many of those concerns could have been addressed and made clear and potentially helped any legal costs for having Peter have to reach out to me. And I'm hoping that through the discussion this evening that you'll not only see what we're trying to do and that we're trying to do things right, not just by our family, but by the township and our neighbors, and that some of the circumstances that led to where we ended up and why we're requesting what we're requesting might make more sense. So to better understand that, I think a bit of a story would help. I've been working at Limerick Nuclear Power Plant for a few years now. We were previously in Westchester, Pennsylvania, and I was commuting to Salem Nuclear Power Plant an hour and a half each way. I did that for about 6 years. The goal was always when we moved here for me to get to Limerick. They weren't hiring when we moved down here, and so I finally got a job there. And our family has been looking for some time to relocate to this area. We fell in love with Perkiomanville, the people, the culture, the fact that you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, not just here, but at the schools. Like, those are the type of values that we wanted to surround our family with. So that's why we really tried to get to this area. With the fact that I drive an hour each way, falling asleep on the road, I'm sure is, I think it was Brian, Officer Brian, is that his name? I believe he knows falling asleep on the way home on night shift is pretty dangerous. So the goal was to get very close to work so that when I'm driving home on night shift, I don't fall asleep on the road. Unfortunately, our search for a home was extremely difficult. It was mentioned during the video at the township meeting that someone didn't understand why we would buy a little over a quarter-acre lot to build such a big project, knowing that there was a 33% impervious coverage limit established by the township for the property. Trust me, we tried. We tried very, very hard to get a property big enough for our family, that had a pool already, or that had room for a pool that we could also afford. My wife and I have 3 kids, like I mentioned, and we also take care of our father-in-law, he survived 2 heart attacks now, and he lives with us. So we had to have something big enough that we could afford that could also fit a pool. We made well over a dozen verbal offers. 7 of them were formal offers that fit the needs of our family. We went well over asking price on every one of them, $40,000. In some cases, 2 cases were over $80,000. And we lost every single one of those offers. Each time we were beat by cash offers that waived inspections, and we were nearing the school year, and we really didn't want to let our kids start another year in the Westchester School District and then be forced to move again and abandon the friends that they got closer with the following year. So I didn't feel like it was fair for them to transition mid-year, and I thought something needed to be done before the school year started. So we landed on one location that I knew had room for us, and that I thought had room for a pool and a deck. At least I thought it was possible. The process that I had involved a lot of research and questions, many of which Lennar Homes wasn't willing to help with, or as I've learned since buying the home, may have even misled me into believing was possible just to get us to purchase the house. With all the frustrations of the home buying process and losing out on so many offers, it was getting depressing for us, so we decided to set up our roots at Farmview, pun intended. I get it. We got a bunch of farms next to us. There's horse farms on either side of us, which we actually love. At the beginning of the search, I promised my wife that we would get a pool. That was the one promise. I said, we'll get a pool. No matter what, I'll find a way. We'll get a pool. And you guys, if those of you who are married, you know, happy wife, happy life. Like, try to abide by that as best I can. Some days go better than others, but we try to do the best we can. So one of the things mentioned on the township recording was that someone also didn't understand why we wanted to have both a covered deck and a pool. While I don't fully understand the concern or the comment there, I do feel it's necessary to understand that initially we were really willing to do just the deck with like a pergola or something for impervious coverage so that it would reduce the costs on that, and it didn't count against it. But since we've moved in, we found that our kids are very sensitive to mosquito bites. And with 2 farms on either side of the community, the bugs in the summer, we found out last summer, they break out pretty bad in hives when they start getting bit. So we wanted to cover the deck, and it's gonna have screens that can come down on buggy days to be able to shield my wife and kids from the bugs. So while I understand that may not meet the true definition of a legal hardship, I've had a bunch of conversations with people across different parts of the township, and it sounds like, from what I understand, very, very rarely does a variance request ever truly meet the definition of a hardship. There are some things that I'm going to talk about later in here that I do think might help that cause a little bit. But I wanted to make sure I address each of the requests and the reasoning behind it so that we understand why some of the things we did made sense. And again, I tried to go about this process the right way. I spoke to people at the township about how to submit the permits, the right way to do it. And I was told that the way that I should go about this is design the project that you feel is needed for you and what you're trying to do. Do it all at once in one permit request. Then, when the reviewer does their permit review, they can deny you for X, Y, Z, and then you submit one variance request instead of trying to piecemeal it together and be sneaky about trying to get certain objectives across the line over different timeframes. I just said, if that's the way you guys would prefer it, it makes sense. It wastes less of your time, it wastes less of the township's time, my time, and money to come across and do this in pieces. If I just go about this the right way, then I would think it would look favorably upon us for trying to do right by the township and everybody involved. So with that said, so the 4 things that we were asking for, one of them was the impervious coverage. I think that's the biggest one I wanted to speak to. 33% to 39.9%. And then there was a shed request for 3 feet inside of the 5 feet from the property boundary with the pool equipment located behind the shed. And then the third one was pool located closer than 25 feet from the property boundary. And then the next one is going to be the 20.9 feet or 20.9% building coverage instead of 20% building coverage. So for those first and third things, the impervious coverage and the pool located closer than 25 feet from the rear of the property. I feel I've kind of addressed at least the reason for that, but I think the stormwater management piece is the side that I want to focus on the most. As I understand it, a lot of time went into the 33% number and calculating that number from your guys' standpoint and how to land on that number. Unfortunately, where I think I may have been misled by Lennar when we purchased the property, and unfortunately it's the bulk of the reason for the interest, we wanted to be able to have the deck for the family to congregate and it to be screened in for the kids' protection, and then also having the pool. We were told that purchasing the house, there was an AT&T easement that runs along the back of the property. So if you look at the documents I presented and the pictures I presented, where the back of the fence goes starts a 20-foot easement. It goes the entire length of the complex, not just our property. And that's what one of the pictures will show of the community overhead, is that easement runs the entire length and is also the stormwater basin, or stormwater runoff down to the large basin at the back of the property. When we purchased the property, it was communicated to us that that wasn't our land, but we had to take care of it. And so I didn't fully understand that. And then one of my neighbors put in a permit for a fence, and then they were later told that they had to take care of that. So they put a deck or a fence on the back of their, or a gate at the back of their fence because they have to take care of that. Since we bought the property, the HOA doesn't mow it. They only mow the berm, which is the second piece I wanted to talk about. After that 20-foot AT&T variance, there is another, that berm that funnels the stormwater management, this is permanent and it's never going to change. Like, it's there for the life of the property. That berm is at least another 60 feet before you get to the farm on the other side of the berm that you can't even see because it's such a big, tall berm to look over. So behind our house, there's nothing. It is just a 20-foot easement and then at least another 60 feet on top of that before you even get to a neighboring property, the farm next to it. So the reason for moving the request for the pool's edge is because the footprint for a quarter-acre lot, or our lot, to fit the pool is like a very small rectangle. If you follow the township 25 by 25 by 25 on all sides. So we wanted to move it back because I said, well, we're taking care of the property anyway. Like, I have to mow it every week, so I'm not allowed to build on it. I'm not allowed to do anything with that easement. But if I'm taking care of it, maybe I can at least move the water's edge back so that we can fit some of the other stuff we need to do. And it makes sense logistically to put the shed in the back left corner. One of the other things that we did in this process is we considered our neighbors. I included them in the design process so that they could have a say in what they would or would not fight, so that when we went to the variance, if they had any issues with something, they could have a say. So the pool equipment, we put that behind the shed because the houses are kind of close together. I got a neighbor on the right who's got a newborn. They don't want the pool equipment running outside that window if it can be avoided. Same thing on the other side of the house. The border to the house is actually closer. So by putting it behind the shed at the back of the property, I can actually push everything to the back left and then maximize the stormwater basin capability, because I assumed, just based on the scope of the project, that the stormwater basin was going to probably be pretty big. So if I move everything this way, I have a ton of room on the right to fit whatever's needed to address that runoff concern. Because like I said, I'm really trying to do this the right way, and stay above board, so to speak, here on how the process should work. I think that covers that part. So at this point, I believe it's also worth noting, and the reason I provided the paperwork here is the property that Lennar sold us, at least the way the pool company described it to me, is they use the term non-conforming. So Lennar provided us, there's a minimum restriction for property size, and they gave us a property size that was 755 square feet smaller than what's required by the township. I didn't know that when we purchased the property, that it was that. I guess I just overlapped that piece of it and didn't realize that that was a thing. And again, part of the AT&T easement, when they were selling us the house, is I thought maybe the reason the easement's there is why the property shortage might be there, and that it might be our property, or there's a way to make it our property so that it gets included. I really didn't know how that whole thing was supposed to work. And so what I wanted to point out is that if we were given a property that met the township's requirements, it would go from a 39.9% request to a 37.5%, which changes that, not, I wouldn't say like drastically, but it's a meaningful chunk to come down to 4.5% request over the required dimensions, when I'm already taking care of a lot bigger than that. So I don't know if Lennar got a variance for that, or if the AT&T easement played a role. I do feel that there's potentially some leeway for a hardship there, just based on not getting a house that was, that didn't meet the zoning requirements for the township. Additionally, a pool, these are just things I'm sharing from our pool contractor. They got a variance last year in this township for an 11.1 foot side and rear yard setback when it was supposed to be 25 feet. They also got approved for 31.6 impervious coverage when the limit for that lot was 20%. They said they didn't, the township at the time, and I'm not saying one way or another, there may have been reasons for that too, but that's 11.6 over the township limit, and we were asking for 6.9, which would only be 4.5 with a quality lot, or a lot that met township standards. The concern that was brought up again, I totally understand this concern. It sounds like there's been problems with past variance requests meeting the stormwater retention requirements. So that's why I wanted to assure you that we understand we have to retain the water. We're trying to design this project around the idea that we have to retain the water on the property, because working at a nuclear power plant, I'm also environmentally conscious. I understand the impacts of those things, and I want to make sure that I'm staying in line with what's expected for that. From what Lennar also told us, when they calculate the stormwater basins built in for the community, they account for some impervious coverage being added to the property. So part of me believed that when buying the house, the stormwater considerations would be something that I could meet, and when the calculations were completed, we could find a way. The other thing that I thought might help is we're trying to take the rear downspouts from the roof of the property that run into the backyard. We want to take the stormwater downspouts off the roof and funnel those into the basement. So what that actually does, in my opinion, is it would make the basin have to be bigger, for one, and it would also reclaim some of the impervious coverage that's being consumed by the roof, because we're making sure that we retain some of the roof's coverage in the stormwater basin, not just the pool project, if that makes sense. And I assume that would play somewhat of a role, and I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing. I thought it would be better for everybody on the site, and that would be something that would be wanted, but if I'm wrong about that, I apologize. Talked about the shed setback and why we wanted to do that. I think I addressed everything with that. I will have letters from all my neighbors. They're all willing to sign letters with proofs of the plans to show exactly what we're asking for, that they accept and support everything that we're asking for. So I'd planned on bringing that to the zoning hearing board as well. And they have no problems with that. The 20.9% building coverage, I think, is the last thing. To me, that's probably the most incidental thing that I didn't see coming. I had no idea about the building coverage portion and that we would even come close to that. We really wanted to go about that in the right way as well, so that's why we're trying to make sure that, again, everything is shifted to the left to cover any of the building requirements. But again, this goes back to the non-conforming lot. So if it's a non-conforming lot, if we had a conforming lot, this wouldn't even be an item to discuss, because we would have well gone over the lot size, where the 20.9% would have just not even been a thing with the current project that we have. I explained a lot. I'm sorry for rambling. Again, I'm really tired. I appreciate any questions, concerns, or thoughts you have on this. I know it costs the township money to hire a lawyer, it costs us time and money to do the same. I'm hoping that some of this sheds some light on what we're asking for and why. Like I said, I want to be a positive member of this community for the rest of our lives. We've loved living here, and even though we didn't want this small of a lot, I think it's probably been the best thing for our family. I'm just hoping that I can make my wife happy and try to get the kids protected at the same time, and that I'm not forced to choose one or the other. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions. Are there any concerns or things you want to talk about? Or
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Stokes?
I guess my only question would be, would you guys consider maybe downsizing the pool a little bit?
So the reason we went with the size pool we did is because the impervious coverage to get to a limit that we would get to on the pool. Again, I have 3 kids. Like, there's going to be a lot of kids in that pool. We have pretty much the whole community. I'm kind of like the one of you for our community. Everybody comes and hangs out at our house. I'm trying to really make it somewhere that the family can congregate for a long time. Scaling back the size of the pool was already done from what we had wanted to do before. So scaling it back anymore, like, I would appreciate not having to do that.
I just want to say, speaking for myself, I appreciate the fact that you felt you were misled by Lennar. Perhaps that's true. We don't know. I also appreciate the fact that you want to do the best for your family, and this is what you want to do, and you couldn't find another house. But that's not relevant to zoning hearing.
Sure.
It just isn't. So I think I want you to understand that I am sympathetic, but we have these guidelines for a reason, and we try to administer them equally to everyone. And when the stormwater was calculated for that entire development, and that soil doesn't really perk, having all that extra impervious surface does have an impact. So I kind of feel the same as my colleague, is if you were to get closer to the 33%, I don't think you would find as much opposition, or at least show a willingness to get closer.
Is the pool the only thing that I can do to get closer? Like, is the thing we're saying is I have to shrink the pool? Like, that's the only option here?
Well, the deck is impervious as well.
It is, but
Yeah.
Really, the ask is anything you could do to reduce it down as close to 33% as possible.
so from the calculations that I've run to reduce either one of them down to a size that gets you close to the 33%, I think that was mentioned in the video, you pretty much have to go one way or the other. Like, as you start reducing the size on one, you pretty much have to chop the whole thing off to get down to the number that is needed to get close to 33%. The way that I run the math, like, to even if I took, like, let's say 1,000 square feet, I don't remember the exact square footage of the pool. I wish the pool company was here to talk about this, but to take like 1,000 square feet off the pool, you have a pond, like, or you have a little like kiddie pool. And that's not going to make an appreciable dent in the percentage from the number calculation. The problem is because it's such a small lot, being that it's a non-conforming lot, the sooner you take a dent in that, the sooner you take away, like, the garage is just not small enough to house anything. So I can't stick stuff in the garage. My father-in-law takes up the entire basement. The shed is intended to get all of this stuff in there. So, like, I could get rid of the shed, but then I have nowhere to put anything. And while I respect the comment about how they don't matter, I would think that the fact that I'm actively doing what is necessary from a stormwater management perspective, whatever you guys say, like, whatever the township comes back and says, you have to retain your water. And that's where I struggle with this, because when I went into the process, I thought the main concern with impervious coverage is stormwater. Is that fair? So if I'm going to retain it and I'm committed to that retention process, whatever it ends up having to be, no matter how gross and obscene it has to be, and I'm willing to do that without any resistance, like I'm trying to stay in the process ahead of time, way in advance, and communicate through all of it. I'm not trying to be somebody who's trying to hide it or sneak things past you guys. I just want to know, you tell me how big of a basin you need and I will make it happen.
Can our engineer speak to that?
Well, the piece of the puzzle we're missing on stormwater right now is there was no soil testing. So we don't know if the soils that exist on that lot today are going to be capable of infiltrating stormwater. So I don't know if it's possible to capture that volume and infiltrate it with the soils that are there today, because the testing isn't done. We do know that they didn't find much when they were looking at development overall in terms of soils that were suitable for infiltration. So without the soils testing, we're not really in a position to say, yeah, we can capture that water on the lot and infiltrate it. It might not be possible.
But is it fair to assume then that if I couldn't retain the water, then I wouldn't be allowed to do the project? That's the way I understood the process, is that they come back with a calculation.
It's certainly one of the pieces of the puzzle. You are correct.
So that's where I lose track of the opposition, is because we're opposing something that I'm required to meet. You're going to tell me what I have to meet. And if I can't meet it, then I can't do the project. That's the way that I understand it with stormwater management. And I might be totally wrong about that.
Mr. Stokes, I think that the other aspect of impervious surface that you're missing is a means to maintain a certain amount of green space on lots. And so, townships enact impervious surface. Yes, it directly relates to stormwater runoff, but it also creates a certain amount of spacing between the houses, amount of green space on the lots, so you don't turn a development into a Philadelphia city block with no grass, no trees, no nothing. So that is the other aspect of impervious surface, and the other purpose of impervious surface is to create that sort of spacing between building structures, that sort of openness.
Okay.
And the state zoning law specifically allows us to, zone for those purposes. So you're right, there is a direct correlation between stormwater, but that's not the only aspect of impervious surface. And since I'm talking, I'm going to answer some other of your questions.
Sure.
Your lot is undersized, and every lot in Farmview is undersized, because after Farmview was approved, the township amended its zoning ordinance and raised the minimum lot size in your zoning district.
Okay.
So your, Farmview under state law, that change couldn't impact their plan. Soon as Farmview, as soon as the developer came to us with a plan, they were grandfathered in. But what that means for you as a homeowner buying into this plan, you do have to comply with the new zoning. So the grandfathering under state law only applies to the developer. It doesn't apply to any of the property owners in the development. So that's why you're in the situation you're in, as is everyone else in your development. And to be honest, as is everyone in the Melbourne Hills development down the road. So that's why you're non-conforming. As far as the AT&T easement goes, that's a communications easement that the developer had to move in order to build this development. It's between you and your HOA as to who take care of what. But in my experience, I've never seen a situation where a individual property owner is told you got to maintain some part of the HOA's open space or some third-party easement. That's bizarre.
It is.
So I would go back to your HOA and ask them, hey, can you please show me in your documents the HOA declaration, in your bylaws, where it specifically says individual property owners are supposed to be taking care of this easement. That's certainly not a requirement of the township. That's between you and your HOA.
Okay.
It doesn't make sense to me, so I'd question it. Other than that, I think that's so far the, only clarifications I wanted to give you.
Sure, and I appreciate the green space comment for sure, and that's one of the reasons, again, why we included our neighbors in the design process, so that we were putting up trees and everything to make the property still be a friendly appearance. Really, the only thing our neighbors are gonna be able to visually see is probably the pool decking and the shed, which would be the case for pretty much any neighbor, as I understand it. And then again, it's just a big wide open space behind us that can never be touched. Like, it's never legally allowed to be touched. So I have a ton of space, whether I have to maintain a portion of it or not, that is wide open green space, and my neighbors are probably impacted about maybe 20 feet of their view before the trees would take back over and it'd be wide open green space again. I would hope that the pictures would show that it's really not like an eyesore from like a green space problem.
There's at least 3 members of the board that were actually hands-on involved with Farmview.
Okay,
And when it was put in, we're pretty familiar with the property.
awesome, that's great. So you know exactly what I'm talking about then.
Absolutely. So for me, your property isn't just a private lot, it's actually part of an entire development and a community itself. And the storm drains were all sized for that development to handle the certain amount of runoff based on that 33% impervious per lot. And while your project might just seem like one small part of the puzzle, if we allow everybody in the development then now with the legal nonconforming to do that same thing, because if we let you do it, then we're probably gonna have to let somebody else do it and somebody else do it, and cumulatively, that ends up over time not being a benefit. So for us, it's the health, safety, and welfare of not just you, but the entire development and the entire township itself.
Okay, so then that's where I just go back to, you guys have to, you're gonna tell me what I have to do for stormwater management, like legally. She's gonna tell me how much I have to put in. And if that can be met, that's what I don't understand is
Well, could
like-
you imagine if every single, everybody in your neighborhood decided, well, Mr. Stokes got a variance, he can go up to 40%, then we can go up to 40%. And then everybody has their own little mini stormwater on their lots. Now we have a bunch,
But
it's just
the-
more and more and more.
But
So-
from your standpoint as a homeowner, you own your own home, right? You own your property and your right to address your property. I could care less if every one of my neighbors put in a pool and a deck in their house because it doesn't impact me. I can still see right outside the back door of my yard, and so will they. They will be able to see exactly what they saw before. They're not going to have any additional view restrictions. Not one single person in the community has a view restriction or an impervious coverage concern. I don't put any more water into the storm drains that was calculated. I don't put any more water into the basin than I would have before because I'm required by law to retain that stormwater that you tell me I have to retain.
So are you going to build a retention basin in the extra green space in your yard? How are you going to do
I
that?
have to. You guys are going to tell me how big it's got to be. So whatever you tell me
So-
the size is.
I think we're getting a little off topic, whether you want to go over impervious surface or all your neighbors or none of your neighbors, each case is considered individually. And we have concerns about the impervious surface. We have concerns. The biggest issue we have in this township is water. I don't know if you lived here in 21 or 22, but when we had those 2 hurricanes, we had people's houses that were destroyed, literally. One of them broke in half down the street. We had a lot of flooding. And as a result, the state increased their requirements for stormwater, Department of Environmental Protection. So we don't just make these things up. We have guidelines that are given to us by the state and by the federal government, and we try very hard to protect everybody's property by applying them. And again, I'm going to let our engineer speak more because that's more her purview.
Yeah, so the additional stormwater that would come from your additional impervious surfaces, if you can't infiltrate that stormwater, if you don't have soil there with the necessary properties to infiltrate, and it's very likely that you won't, there's really nothing else you can do except maybe slow it down a little in a big bowl, but still send it down to that stormwater basin. And that stormwater basin was designed for that development, not to have that level of impervious coverage coming to it. And as has been set up here, if we start doing that lot by lot by lot, we're exceeding what that basin can manage. and that's going to have catastrophic
There,
effects.
there's no stormwater management system out there that can improve absorption characteristics, or the basin itself size can't be, like your calculations say you're sized for this type of impervious coverage, and this amount of water needs to be retained for this size storm. It's projected over a certain, this is the worst storm we received over a certain period of time, and you do a calculation based on that amount of rain output rate. And then you size the basin for the worst-case scenario and say, this basin has to hold this much water. Anything that overflows that is going to overflow every basin in the county. Like, I'm not required to survive the end of the world. I'm required to survive the worst storm.
So the basin that's out there, the basins that are out there, there's multiple basins on Farm View.
Correct.
And they are sized for this, for the amount of impervious that went in, and then there was a smidge extra given for each house, and that's tabled on the plans. And that's essentially based on that 33%.
And then I
So-
have to cover the rest.
But my point is that if you can't infiltrate that stormwater into that soil, because the soil doesn't have capacity to take it, because it's not a soil that allows movement of water through it, you're ultimately going to be adding to that basin.
Correct. So the basin has to be big enough to hold in a certain amount of
I'm
water.
talking about the basin that's not on your property that serves the entire development.
Maybe, I'm an engineer, and I guess, maybe I don't understand. We could talk about it afterwards, I guess. It sounds like there's going to be remaining opposition. So we can go outside of that. Is there a way that,
I think, Mr. Stokes, what the engineer's trying to explain is you're not going to be able to build a basin big enough on your property that could hold all the water coming off your impervious surface for a long enough time not to impact the community's basin downstream. So,
there's
fro-
1,700 square feet or whatever the number is?
is that, am I reading, am I giving the right impression?
Yeah, if you can't physically infiltrate the stormwater, you're ultimately adding it to the basin downstream.
Only if the basin isn't big enough to hold it itself. It could be
You
basically,
you
it
can't hold
becomes
the
a
water
pond.
forever, you have a mosquito pond then. So you're going to have to drain it somehow.
Right, but it's gotta hold it for a certain amount of time before it drains.
But you're ultimately draining it, and you're going to have to hold it for a little while, but you can't hold it too long or you're going to have a mosquito pond, and then you're going to have a bigger problem both for yourself and your neighbors and the bug bites that you're talking about. So what you're talking about is some sort of a rain garden or some sort of a basin on your property. I don't know if you have the room to do that, but ultimately it will need, unless by some miracle we can get infiltration in that soil. I don't know, there's no testing done in the submission I received. But what you're talking about is saying, oh, I'll collect it in this bowl, but you've still got to drain it out and drain it eventually to that basin that's already managing the entire development. So again, if we're talking about, I don't disagree, if it's just one lot doing this and everybody else doesn't max out their lots, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying, but the problem that I think is being pointed out here is you're 1 in 40, and when that starts snowballing into the others, we're no longer managing stormwater in the way that's required by state law and by township code and by our MS4 permit. So it's a cumulative issue.
That was something I wanted to mention, is that this directly affects the township's MS4 reporting. So it does affect us as a township.
And there's no way we're willing to find out the testing, get the testing done to see what size basin is needed and if it's possible first, before we
You can
just
do
give a
soil
no.
testing on your property. You can absolutely do a soil test on your property. You have a very capable engineer. They've done other work in this township. They can work with you to calculate sizes of volumes that need to be infiltrated and managed. You have an engineer for that. That wouldn't be something the township does.
So in the post-management, stormwater management for that development, they're not allowed to have additional runoff, is that correct? It's like you can't have more coming off the property than when they started.
Each property has there's actually a table on the Farm View plans that says, all right, this is how much stormwater, how much impervious surface we're assuming. And then we fluffed it by another, I'm going to say about 1,000 square feet to account for people doing a pool or a shed or a deck. And those numbers are all tabled, it's all laid out in that plan so that you know what those stormwater systems were sized for, the maximum they were sized for. Doesn't go as big as our applicant's wishing right now.
Right. So what I'm saying is if he puts this stormwater management on his property and he has the overflow and it goes to the stormwater basins that are already existing, could that affect the post-stormwater calculations that are
Yes.
already meant for that development?
Yes.
Okay.
But again, if we do calculations and I do soil testing and it only needs to be done for the amount exceeding the grace that was already given into the calculations, because I think it was like 1,400 square feet or something like that. Whatever the number was, it was a square footage over what was already there. So that includes at the very least the shed and a portion of the deck. I don't remember the exact number. I think it's on one of these plans. I'm just
It
not
is, yep.
following exactly, but I feel so bad because I'm taking up so many people's times with this, but I'm just trying to make sure that I give it the best fight that I can.
Well, that would be up to you to have the soil testing done to evaluate whether or not there's an option for installation.
Just interject for a second.
Yes, sir.
I basically come across with a fundamental problem, is you and your wife both signed off on paperwork identifying all these restrictions when you purchased a property. You were aware of them, your engineer was aware of them, yet you went forward with a proposal that basically broke, it didn't break, it exceeded a lot of the requirements, and everybody in the development, there's a need for consistent enforcement of zoning and compliance from across all homeowners. Otherwise, we run into significant difficulty. I mean, in addition to the impervious surface issues, you're also pushing yourself closer to the back of the property line. And there are reasons, all these things were reviewed, assessed, and agreed upon and defined for this project. And everyone who purchases a home in Farmview is provided a list. And in theory, the people go through that list, and it's explained to them what the parameters are. So it's really difficult for me to gather how you could have prior knowledge of something and completely ignore it when you met with your designer and engineer to draft this plan. So I find it, I understand the things that you're trying to do, but I think we need to have the rules apply to everybody.
So nobody's allowed a variance anymore then? Or we need a true hardship? We've never approved as a board a variance that wasn't a true hardship?
We're getting a little off topic. I'm going to make, if it's okay, and the lawyer and the engineer can maybe, smack me if I'm speaking out of turn, but I'm just going to make a suggestion.
Okay.
And again, give me a look if I'm off base. Maybe delay your zoning hearing board meeting to get a little more work done if you really want to go forward with this, possibly with a modified plan, possibly with soil testing, possibly with maybe your engineer, talk to our engineer. If you come to zoning hearing board with all your ducks in a row, again, no promises, but as your plan is now, it's going to be a tough haul. So can I suggest that he delay and do some more homework? If he wants to.
You certainly can make that suggestion, yes.
Yeah, if that's one option for you.
Okay.
So I'm just throwing that out there to consider. You've had some feedback, and
If we reduce, as Dan suggested, the number of variances, is there a willingness, like if I move the shed's over as far as it is to try and maximize stormwater basin capabilities? That's the reason it's there. I can move that.
I think the impervious coverage is something that you're going to have to grapple with.
Okay.
That's the That's, I think, the biggest thing to
If
carry
I
is the
drop the
impervious.
roof and find a way to figure out the bugs,
Yeah,
if I drop the roof, would that
I think
help?
as it stands now, a majority of the board is pretty much in the exact same place we were before, but that's not saying that we don't understand where you're coming from.
So is dropping the roof an option to get the board to change their mind if I drop the roof on the deck?
That's something to talk to your engineer about, and where none of us are engineers except for our engineer
Well, I think
here,
that
so-
completely changes the impervious calculation, like getting rid of the.
No, a deck would still be impervious whether there's a roof over or not. That changes the building that might change the building coverage, but it wouldn't change the impervious. So the maximum impervious per the design, I'm looking at your plan right now, and they've listed on your plan the maximum impervious per the farm view design for your lot was 3,254 square feet. The calculations say today there's 2,585 square feet there, and your proposal was 4,683. So if you can reduce the area of impervious coverage that you're proposing and get it back down closer to that 3,254, you'd be more, closer to compliance with the original stormwater design. If you're still looking to retain some stormwater on your property, you could talk to your design engineer about whether soil testing would be beneficial for your situation to find out if your soil is capable of infiltrating runoff. So those would be the two things that I would suggest evaluating based on what I've heard from the board today and my understanding of the stormwater situation, the Farm View development.
Okay, and it was, you said it was how much over? What's allowed? Not the 33%, but the stormwater management piece.
So the design that was prepared by the engineer for Farm View was 3,254 square feet. That's actually on your plan, so you can reference that.
Basically,
And then
what that,
we were at a total with the pool project of 4,000 something,
4,683 square feet.
so 1,430 something square feet.
yeah.
Yep.
And the 3,200, that is your allocation as to the stormwater system.
Correct.
So when Farm View was applied for and designed, the township actually did not have individual lot impervious surface limitations. And so the way it was dealt with was to basically, the developer said, okay, we're going to give each lot a certain amount of impervious surface that they can build. And that's why, if you looked at the actual record plans, there's a chart that lays out every lot and lays out how much impervious surface, how much building coverage you get, how much total impervious surface you get. So I think generally, I know, in our conversation earlier and tonight, you're looking for, hey, give me a number, give me a goal. I don't think the board is willing or able to do that. But every square foot you reduce, every variance you reduce or eliminate, is a step in the right direction to get the board to be like, okay, we can live with this, and they won't send me to oppose this. Now, if that's something you can do before the June meeting, fantastic, move forward with it. If you can't, if you do a little of it, you realize it's probably not going to be enough for this board, I think what Carol is talking about with the soil testing, that might be your kind of Hail Mary type of deal to do the testing to see maybe perhaps you can at least come here and say, yeah, I can infiltrate all the stormwater on my site. I'm not going to be pushing any more stormwater into the system beyond what I'm allowed. That's why Carol keeps pushing that, is that if you could tell us that, yeah, that would certainly alleviate that concern.
Okay.
But yeah, everything you can do to reduce the size of the variances and the number of variances, that's going to make the board much more comfortable with your plan and be like, okay, this is not such a big deal.
Okay.
Okay?
Before I leave, the last thing is then, does the number of variances really matter? Like, if you're saying the impervious coverage is the thing I have to, the hurdle to overcome here, do I need to move the shed? And do I need to change the pool setback knowing that I have 80 plus feet of no neighbor behind me for the rest of my life? I can't put the
I'm
water's
going
edge.
to speak for myself, and it's as close as you can get to our current zoning code as possible without going over.
Anybody else have a different opinion?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is it'll be hard for you to demonstrate hardship. And this, I know this is hard. Your hardship is you want to do something good for your kids.
Yeah, I
But
understand.
it's not the township's fault that that property's too small. It's not your fault, it just is. And so that's kind of where we are. I mean, nobody's wrong here, you're not wrong, it just, that's the situation. And we have to be in compliance with our regulations, and I'm sure we're all sorry that you don't have a bigger lot that you can't put your pool in. It's tough. But if, again, think about what you can do between now and your date. If you don't think you can do it, you could consider pushing it back to try and come up with a plan that will be closer to what we're looking for. Like, I don't know what that would be. You're at almost at 40%, maybe get to 34, 35. I'm not saying that would pass, but 40 is a long way from 33, and whatever you can do elsewhere.
I
Like Peter
appreciate your
said,
time.
It's, and if, to be successful, you want to have a plan that's going to cut muster with us and with the zoning hearing board, and,
That's where I'm trying to find where the mustard's
yeah,
at.
and we don't think you're there yet. So
I don't even know
if you'd
what
like to
sauce
get,
I'm dealing with right now,
yeah, I know,
honestly. so-
and if you want to get there, you have a little bit of work to do.
Okay.
So,
I appreciate the time.
Thank you
And,
for your time as
I apologize
well.
for not coming more prepared, but I appreciate your time regardless, and thank you for your
Thank you so
Mr.
much.
Stokes, Mr. Stokes, no, in comparison to a lot of people, you came prepared, so we appreciate it.
and welcome to the neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, our next item on our agenda for this evening is the purchase, procurement and disposal policy.
Noel, I just wanted to note about the exec session held prior to the meeting. I don't believe that got announced.
No, I didn't. We
Oh,
had an
did-
executive session this evening before the meeting to discuss real estate and legal matters.
Potential litigation.
And potential litigation. Thank you, Jason.
And then, before you get into this, I have done my edits to this. I just didn't have a chance to press send before I had to drive here. My edits are rather extensive in that they bulk up the policy with a lot more explanation, a lot more background. So I don't know if you want to push this off until the following meeting, or if you want to have some discussion of it now, or if you want, I can send it to you all right now, but I don't think you want to go through my changes at this point in time.
We're good, yeah, I think the best thing to do is to table it, because I know that I had some extensive things I wanted, and I want to make sure that you probably are going to hit on them anyway. So we will table that for this evening's meeting. And then next on our agenda is another policy for donation and sponsorship. Peter, did you have a chance to look at this as well?
Yes, which I have not sent to you either. Actually, Eric looked at it.
Okay.
I know, I'm killing you, yes. Well, you know I haven't sent it to you.
Two demerits for you, Peter.
Yeah, I know. So, although I do, our changes to this are much less extensive, so I think this is something, if you want to discuss now, it wouldn't be a waste of time.
Okay. He's saying that we could discuss it?
Yes, I'm saying that
Are you saying that your changes, edits, or additions, or subtractions?
we have
weren't-
some edits, Eric did make some edits to it,
Okay.
but the vast majority of it is unchanged.
Okay, so does anybody else have any questions about this policy itself?
I just want to say, having something in writing that's documented that tells people how they're supposed to do something is good.
Yeah. I don't have anything to add or subtract from what I went over on this. Dan, do you have anything? Crystal, do you have anything?
No, I didn't see anything that popped out at me. I think it was well-written.
Okay, so we'll just wait for yours, Peter, and then we can address this the next meeting with
So
this.
do you maybe, with his minimal edits, do you think we can put this on the general meeting for June?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
That's
I
what
was
I'm-
going to say both of these
Okay.
can probably go on the general meeting.
Yeah, the edits are mainly having to do actually with social media. Yeah, they really all have to do with social media and comments and trying to broaden the policy to encompass some social media issues.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Peter. All right. Is everybody okay with looking at this, the next meeting? Okay. Terrific. Next up is the admin request for the township building sign.
Can I go with this? Comments? Okay. Let's see. Come on. Oops. Okay, so this is a kind of an update from the previous meeting where the sign was discussed. As the board may recall, we did kind of focus on an electronic sign, so that's kind of what this this will show. All right, budget. As you may recall, our total budget to spend on the new sign is $32,904.50, and that would be between the money that we've already received from insurance and the LSA grant that we received at the end of last year. That's it. Outstanding questions. How are the digital signs controlled? When a digital sign is purchased, there's a cloud-based software that's used to control the graphics, brightness, images, and it's via the manufacturer website. It was noted that after 5 years, with the first 5 years included, the township would need to decide if they want to continue using the wireless connection through the cloud-based software, the LED manufacturer, or if we wanted to pay for connecting a radio onto the sign, which will allow the sign graphics, brightness, images, be controlled wirelessly through the township network. Currently, the price of the wireless LED manufacturer monthly is around $5 per month. The alternative would be to get a quote for the radio install. Obviously, we know in 5 years, those prices can change. And the one thing, granted, that we would be looking down the line would be if the network goes down, then we lose control of the sign and it goes dark.
Do you have a suggestion on this, recommendation on this, Jason?
I would probably go with the web, like the manufacturer website. I mean,
Okay.
it's $5 today. I can't imagine it's going to be $100 in 5 years.
Does anybody have any questions about that particular item? I think we can just go with Jason's recommendation.
I think we just wanted to note there's, it's kind of that future cost to run it. And the other part with it being web-based is we can change the sign from wherever we're at. We don't need to be at the building. Okay, brightness example. I don't know. All right. I gotta say, Becky did update this, so I apologize if. Is there a cost savings in making the digital sign dimension smaller? Per KC sign, as you can see, not something that is recommended as it would cut the LED in half, which makes the LED essentially non-functional. Per KC sign, yes, this can be done with no cost change unless the address, oh, I don't know what's going on, hold on.
Do you want me to just read them off of here? I mean, I've got the
Yeah,
little thing here. I
it
can
looks
just
like
read off of
it's-
here. We can go
Yeah, I
faster.
think we're a little out of,
Okay.
hold on.
So the first
Okay.
outstanding question was, is there a cost savings in making the digital sign dimensions smaller? And the answer was that it's not something that was recommended. So if anyone doesn't have anything to add on that, I think we'll leave what we had originally decided. The 12 millimeter sign, is that millimeter or is that mm? 12 mm. What's mm? Am I getting that wrong? Okay, we're going to call 12 mm.
I think it's MM.
Okay. Sign was originally priced, but what is comparable, as the numbers go down, the better the quality. So if you look at the 9 mm sign, the cost would go up a total of approximately $1,500, which would increase the quality of the sign. So we're looking at one particular quality compared to the other quality, which is an additional $1,500. Is that something we want to consider when we leave it at the 12 mm sign? Or do we spend an extra $1,500 to get something that would have better quality?
It would be good to be able to see what the difference is, because it could be substantial.
Okay.
Okay,
But just my question is, what would that look like? Like,
that's what he's saying. We need something to compare it to.
yeah, I mean, like what does the firehouse have? What does Schwenksville have? Like, what do they have? So
Okay. I'll have to,
because that number doesn't mean anything to me either.
Yeah, we just need something to compare it to, so
Okay,
we can
I
answer
got you.
that question.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, can we add the address on the sign per KC? Yes. This can be done with no cost change unless the address is being placed on the bottom of the sign, for example, where the admin and police are located. Adding the address versus the admin and police would cost the same, as it's just different wording. That was an additional $3,645 if we put the lettering on the bottom of the sign here. Yeah, the address. Over there. Right. I think there were other options in here for that. I'd like this one here, has Lower Frederick Township, Spring Mount, that one, yeah. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, the one thought I had related to the administration and police is perhaps just having a plain sign, like an old school sign pointing to,
Oh, like when you come in the entrance?
when you come in the entrance, that says police with an arrow pointing to where the police are, and then admin pointing towards the main building. I mean, because right now, you say administration and police, I assume everybody's going to go in the front door here. And I just think having an arrow to actually where the police are, if that's the people you want to speak to, that would make more sense. And that type of sign should not be very costly. It's just a suggestion. I mean, if you don't like it,
Well, we can circle back to that, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, I just think, again, this is kind of a permanent sign, and that's what's on the compound is administration and police. I don't think I think it's fine, but.
Okay. Does anybody else have an opinion about that? Let's put it this way, I care and I don't care. I'd like to save the money and not put anything on there at all, but if the general consensus is that that's the more preferred option, is to make sure that we have that admin and police on there, then I'm okay with that. But more to the question, it's putting the address on. I think that was the question.
Jason, there's one picture here that has, it has the address under the top box. Is
Yes.
that cheaper to put it there than to put it on the bottom? Because I like that too. The white part that says Lower Frederick Township, and then kind of in gray, it says 53 Springmount Road.
well, that's, what they're saying is if we add the address to either, it's
Either
not going
place.
to change, it's not going to change the price.
It won't change the price. Oh, okay.
We know we need to have the address on it, but it,
Because I kind of like having the address under where it says Lower Frederick Township, because it says the name of the street, just the 53.
Kind of weird.
Yes.
oh, you're talking about for the L, yeah.
Yeah, instead of putting the 53.
Well, that'll be the
putting-
next question, which is what is the price difference between the L-shaped base and just the basic base? I'm not gonna lie, I think, I kind of liked, what are those photos of the ones of the Borough Schwenksville sign and the Limerick sign?
That's not,
There they are. I actually prefer that over this. This seems so very,
Oh, this one.
a little too contemporary for me.
I like that.
Yeah, I like it a little bit more old school.
Yeah.
Kind of goes with the,
Yeah.
theme of the township, just in my personal
And
opinion.
the curve on top is nice too, with a little
It's
logo.
a very nice design element. Yeah, the other one's a little contemporary for me, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think we
No,
should
I
try and be,
concur with your opinion.
yeah, I think we should be consistent with kind of our village character.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, having these two. Yeah.
I concur with both of you. I think it looks more in keeping with our township.
Does this put a kink in plans, Jason?
Doing something like those,
Yeah,
having columns on both sides.
yeah.
Because one of the reasons we were thinking columns, because we had a car take out our sign.
I was going to bring that point up.
So that was one
Because
of
it
the
was very
reasons we
similar
introduced
to
the
what-
columns.
How many times
Like,
is lightning going to strike? Is somebody going to drive
I
this
wouldn't
weekend?
have,
know.
I wouldn't have guessed it would have ever happened and the car would have got away, but I still don't know how you,
I want to know more about the durability of it. As far as,
You could put some, you could actually put some boulders around it. We got plenty of boulders in Lower Frederick. Put a couple boulders around it. Yeah.
but if the board, if you guys want, I mean, that's something certainly we can add to design. I mean, if the columns with the current design is 2,700, it wouldn't need to be as thick as this is, I would guess, the width. And so,
I'm just going to say, let's answer as many questions as we
Yep.
can, but I would love to see
Yep.
some pricing on these two here.
okay.
And I think those were her questions, the price difference between the L-shaped base and the basic base. So the difference is $2,700 if we go with the L-shape,
Yep.
which just from, it's just my personal opinion, it's a little too contemporary for me, but.
I, again, find myself in concurrence with Noel. I think we need something that's more in keeping with the township. I mean, the original sign had brick pillars on either side of it, right? And I think it's just more in keeping with the building too. This doesn't
Yes.
really, the pictures are showing us do not harmonize with this building. And those do harmonize with this building. Because we've got kind of like a colonnades out front.
Well, the stone doesn't need to be this, I mean, there are stone options to go lighter. It doesn't need to be dark.
Yeah, but the things on having the pillars on each side of it, I mean,
And that-
you're asking our opinions and
The
that's.
top on it is kind of, yeah.
We hadn't explored that, so we will explore it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys are okay with the administration and police? We're looking for it to be encased with the, like, columns on both sides, probably to look more like Limerick.
I guess the problem is if
where
we
would
go.
we put the administration and
Yeah,
police on there
exactly.
then?
If
we're
we
doing
go
that
with this
design?
design, there really isn't any place to put it.
Oh, okay, I got you. So
I
you
would,
want the
I
signs to
would
look
see
like
Lower
that?
Frederick Township and our address would fit on there, maybe even our logo.
Unless we're putting something on the bottom as well, a brick of some sort, and then,
That
I
would be
think
more money.
that's-
We'd be up on a
I want to say
pedestal
that's
then.
how, I think St. Mary's, I want to say St. Mary's has something over top
Mm-hmm.
and the bottom.
But I think they use their existing as well, just
They
like the
did.
firehouse. Yeah.
The firehouse has nothing, yeah,
Yeah.
they just did the pillar.
And we could circle back to Dan's idea about having the signs when you drive in where it shows you directly that the police are in the back and that the admin is to the left.
Yeah, that's easy. But the point is to try to grab people off the road.
yeah, that's my point as well. I think that they should see that from the road, that the police and administration is in this building. We can certainly add those on later on as far as, on the property
Yeah.
with an arrow saying the police is
Yeah.
further down and the administration's on top, but
Yeah, I
Something
guess-
more visually directive, I could.
Yeah, we wouldn't have
I'm
those,
fine with that.
you wouldn't want those on the road, that's kind of a bad look. But when
Right.
you hit the parking lot,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
So
easy.
the question I have is aligned with
Oh,
both
St.
what
Mary's doesn't
Crystal
have it
and
either.
Noel
It
are
is big.
saying.
That's
Would it
'cause
be able
that was
to
existing.
raise up
They just changed that.
on the bottom, in between the two pillars, so that you could have the administration and police there?
You'd have to build up the brick, you'd be looking at
Yeah, we're gonna-
basically
we're
the
gonna be over
design
the
that's
height. We
here
might
with
be
the
over the height.
bottom.
Yeah.
And then having, instead of one pillar on the side, have two pillars on the side.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be huge.
Yeah, I was going to say, we might have to,
It's
because
gonna get big.
That's going to be a lot more.
When you
Yeah.
look at that, and then you look at the middle, and you look at the top, that's gonna be big.
Way too big.
yeah. No, I understand.
But I think the Schwenksville one is really nice. It gives you that village feel. You got the logo. And then where they say Meadow Park, we would just put the address.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of covers everything, and it's consistent with, the feel of the
No, I think
place.
we're nailing it down.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this design had the bottom part at 3 feet from the ground to, in the area that they were going to keep the,
I kind of tend to agree with Terry that you might just get too big at that
it's going
point.
to get, yeah, I mean.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
This represents 3 feet on
Yes.
the,
We don't want a billboard.
yeah.
Okay. All right. That's great.
Okay.
Okay. And let Becky know that she's doing a great job with this again. Thank you.
Yes.
I just had one other question. It looks like it's maybe 6 or 8 inches off the ground. Can people read that when they go by? Does it need to come up a little bit off the ground? Like, do the pillars need to be?
Well, the one we had
Yeah,
outside
you-
was pretty close to the ground.
Yeah, you're going to want to have the sign itself up off, like, there's going to be some, I would
There'll be some-
recommend, kind of like Schwanksville's has that brick buffer underneath the digital sign itself.
Okay, as long as, yeah, okay, thanks.
But even Limericks is on top of like, it's almost like on a mantle type of thing for Limericks, so it's not, and that's like a raised, it's a raised platform. Yeah, you wouldn't want that.
I personally don't like it. Just my opinion. I mean, we can still do a very nice change of the stone that you guys have on the original, make it lighter, and it'll still fit what we're trying to look for as far as our VMU as well. We have to start kind of mixing that modern, the way people are doing with the farmhouses, that modern farmhouse type look. This is kind of just staying in the same loop of time frame.
Okay, so we'd still like to see some pricing on something like this too. That'd be great. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, Public Works dump truck purchase option discussion. So just for the record, I didn't see these, are they here? Letter E. Okay. So these
Okay.
were, go ahead.
Yep, so you guys got these today. What I can say is there are 3 quotes for the 6-wheel dump trucks. We only have one quote for the 5-ton truck. So,
Okay, so the 3 are Peterbilt, Western Star, Freightliner. What I saw in dock storage was, I saw the Peterbilt, and I saw some from the TP.
yeah, the TP would be the body. But like I said, we only had the one quote for the,
And you don't have any of the financing stuff yet?
no, I don't have the
Okay.
financing, so, obviously with the 5%, based on the amount of 255,000, which was the one 6-wheel dump, you'd be looking at an annual debt service of 57,865, total interest 33,000 for a 7-year term, 43,000 a year with a total interest of 47,000. In both those cases, Daryl from Concord did have there being like almost like a down payment within the 2026 year of 24,000 for the 5-year term and 18,000 for the 7-year term. So,
So can you clarify, do we have the financing information today?
no, not from a bank.
Okay.
I reached out to for Victory. They answered my question for getting our signature changes. They didn't answer my question about if they do commercial vehicle loans.
Okay. I'm just going to throw something out for people to chew on when we do get the financing information. Since we put this in our 2026 budget to buy outright, if we would make a larger down payment, it would really reduce that 33,000 or 47,000 interest payment, which I would like to avoid, at least some of it. So maybe we just pay half up front and then finance the remainder, or pay a third up front and finance the remainder. It just feels like more fiscally responsible. That's a lot of money for interest. So I'm just going to throw that out there to my colleagues to think about, and when we're ready to have the
I think that's a
discussion.
good idea. It's something to consider. Thank you very much.
All right. So we're going to.
Okay, so when I go over the financing, I will do a couple of the scenarios with a down payment without, and so you guys can see the true interest and what those yearly payments will look like.
So can we have this for our next meeting? Because I know this has been going on a long time, and I know the
I
Public Works
really
guys
hate to
would-
kick this down the road again, but I want to make sure we.
So I know we're not ready to do it today, but are we ready in 2 weeks?
So I'm more optimistic today than I was when you guys wanted to put this on this agenda. I mean, as you guys know, I am getting our treasurer in, so that's kind of, but that's going well. So knowing I didn't have it for tonight, my expectation, yes, I can have something for the general meeting. If you guys are ready to, or want to get close to making a decision.
Yeah, we've been talking about this a long time.
I think it'll give me a chance to look at what was put in dock storage today. It's kind of disjointed, so I want to make sure that I'm looking at all the good stuff. Okay?
Yeah, it's like 103 pages altogether.
Well, I managed to lose my agenda. Can I borrow your agenda?
So
Oh, thank you.
next would be the line striping.
Yes,
I'm pretty much talking till we get to data centers.
okay.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thanks. I forgot to change the camera.
Hey, Noel,
Yes?
before you move on, can I
I'm
have some
sorry,
comment on
Bob?
the
Is this Bob?
dump
I'm sorry,
truck?
is this Bob Burns?
It sure is.
Okay, what can we do for you, Bob?
So I sent a picture to your phones, except for Marla, of the six-wheel dump truck that Bergie's has for sale, which is a Mack. I just want to also make sure that the board understands that when this truck comes, it's a cabin chassis. It's got to go to the shop to get the body put on. I think there was a timeline given, 8 to 12 months, that we would not even be able to use this truck. I don't see any other, or know of any other townships that have gone out and built their own truck, buying a Peterbilt or Freightliner or Western Star or whatever. So I just think we're putting a lot of money out there. You're not going to be able to use it for over a year, by the way things sound.
Bob,
So-
I think the board is aware of all of these little details, and we're taking them under consideration, and we'll be looking at this again next week, on the next agenda.
Okay.
Okay, thanks so much, Bob, I appreciate
Thank
it. So where were we? Township line striping? Yes.
All right, so for our 2026 budget, we have 24,150 budgeted for line striping of all the township roads, which is good practice to do every couple of years. At the very least, we would need to stripe the roads that are getting chip sealed this year. Tommy has been able to secure 2 quotes, and we are still attempting to get the 3rd quote from A1 Traffic Control Products. They've done 3 projects for us in the past, and I used them when I was at Union Township. We've also used Guidemark and have had no issues. What I'm recommending to the board, if we don't have a quote from A1, who we would anticipate to be close, if not cheaper than Alpha Space, we would like to table this for the general meeting in June. But you've got the figures.
So you want to wait till we get to the A1
We need the 3rd quote because of the cost.
and pull the trigger at the next meeting? Absolutely. Yeah, if you had it now, I'd be like, let's
I just
get it
wanted
done.
to ask a question. Are you looking to line stripe
So
all the township roads or just like a percentage of them? Like, did you do a percentage every year?
We used to do every road every year.
Wow,
And we went
okay.
back to every other year.
Okay,
And then it finally got tabled, and we've just been last minute in the road with chip sealed the last 3 years. So we kind of like to get back in the lake, at least in every other year schedule.
Okay.
okay, thanks.
That's our end goal.
And this is according to Peter, as long as we've attempted to get the third quote, which we're trying, you guys could, the board could take action at the next meeting. That's why I'm recommending give us another 2 weeks to try to get that quote from A1.
No problem, thank you.
And just one more follow-up. When you're talking line striping, you're talking the lines that go on either side of the road as well as down the middle?
Lines and then roads that double yellow.
Yeah, so it's the fog line, it's the fog lines and the two double yellow in the middle.
Okay.
Because we don't have any single,
Will this include the request from the police as well? The line stripping they requested, will that include that as well?
not,
Oh, never mind then.
that line striping was touched up in future years. What we want to do for the code, or traffic enforcement lines. Did I say that right? We want to put them on like you would the normal line striping so that they'll hold up longer, but we didn't get that incorporated in the quotes that Tommy got, so we're just gonna,
Okay,
that's in the future, so
all right,
that won't
terrific.
fall off. But they did get touched up today, so.
Okay. So we'll do that one at the next meeting too. Okay. Next up, Public Works request a grinder replacement for Riverside Pump Station. So it's an industrial grinder used in wastewater treatment, sewage systems to shred through solid waste, manufactured by Sulzer. These machines protect pumps and pipes from clogging instead of making baked goods. Okay, I have to say it now. A Muffin Monster uses 2 heavy-duty, I was trying to afford that, interlocking shafts that rate a slow speeds but with extreme high torque. It catches large, troublesome items in the waste stream and slices them to small, manageable pieces. So, as I understand it, something went wrong. You guys kind of fixed it, and now we need to replace it. Okay.
Back with an 8-inch instead of a 12-inch.
Say that again? I'm sorry.
We're going to use an 8-inch instead of a 12-inch.
You're going to get an 8-inch instead of a 12-inch.
So it's only an 8-inch line coming in, we don't need the 12-inch.
So we don't need the 12, the 8 is sufficient. Okay.
So one of the things, Alltech is our main sewer repair company, and I did look through CoStarz, and was not able to find other companies who install these. But what I did find is I went to the JWC environmental site. So there is a company that covers Eastern PA that's a distributor, so that we could buy directly from, but also I would expect they would know maybe other installation companies. So since we're in this area of bidding where we would need to have 2 other quotes, this is something else we would need to
And this is
to table.
So this Geiger, is this the one you got the quote from?
Yeah, so I just got this today, so we're gonna reach out to Geiger. They are the distributor for these Muffin Monsters.
Okay. And okay, so we're looking at 13,152.92.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's primarily for the unit itself. And I think there's delivery and stuff on the quote, so that does. And Geiger,
Is this the ceiling cost on this?
and
Okay.
Geiger is a CoStarz dealer, so we need to get you guys more quotes before making this decision.
Okay, so are we going to do this one at the next meeting too? Okay, all right. All righty. Well, last but not least, we have our data centers and data center accessory uses discussion and village mixed use. So it's my understanding that John Miklos doesn't have anything ready yet, and he is not here with us this evening. I want to get the other one out of
So
the way first.
this is from John regarding the VMU.
Okay.
He did review the 428 work session meeting. He's also received the messages from several supervisors expanding upon their comments and thoughts on the VMU and village design. He did feel like the overall vision is pretty clear to him now, but he's still trying to track down a copy of the Historic Resources Survey report from 2017. He said he's heard the survey referenced by the supervisor several times now. It's clear that it would really help to inform any architectural design guidelines. So this survey occurred a few years before I started with working in the township. We have only a couple of parcel maps and a survey map in their files. So he's looking for that documentation. This is not something that I have stumbled on, but I can
I
say,
don't think it's
Crystal-
here, it's with the museum, but
I know who created it. I know Crystal was involved with its creation.
who?
Crystal, Phil Smith and Crystal Gilchrist were both involved.
Yeah, Phil was, I was, Linda Jansen was.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a bunch of us that were
So
involved
it
with that whole thing.
must be somewhere.
It's with the commission, the museum, the pencil, what is it? What is it?
Historic and Museum Commission.
That's it. They have it.
Okay, so maybe John can reach out to them. Because I agree with John's assessment. It would be handy for design.
Yes, absolutely.
okay.
All right, so will he be coming to the next meeting, or will he be coming to the work session at the end of June?
I think that would be
The
reasonable.
work session at the end of June?
'Cause I'm
Okay.
assuming if he's comfortable, he wants to just button up.
Yeah, I
some stuff.
really want to get this,
But that's also why I wanted to read what he
for sure.
he wrote you guys.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and then we have our data centers and data center accessory uses discussion. And anyone would like to kick this off?
I just want to commend Peter for the hard work you put into this, and I have to say, parts of it broke my brain, but I'm not a lawyer, so I guess that's normal. I only had really one comment at this point, and that was for the emergency services section. I apologize, I can't get my hands on it right away. But is there any way we can put something in there to suggest or to require some kind of cost sharing? Or I know there's one municipality, I don't know who it is, they're asking the company to, for example, give the emergency services equipment and training so they can deal with
So
situations.
there is the requirement, the ordinance has requirements that if there's specialized equipment that's necessary for whatever, and it's not just data centers, it's any industrial,
Anything, okay.
development
So
that's
that's in
put
there.
in, yeah, the ordinance requires them to acquire that specialized equipment, and they can give it to the fire company if they want, or if they want to keep it, they can keep it, but it needs to be on site in an accessible location so the fire company, can get at it and use it to put out a fire. Likewise, the ordinance requires that if any specialized training needs to
Okay.
be done, that the company will provide that training on an annual basis or whatever is
Great.
necessary.
Great, so
those
that's
two
in there,
things-
so thank
yeah.
you, because that was my only concern.
And that's a common thing in many ordinances.
Anyone have anything else to add? It was a brain buster for sure. Okay, so what is, next would be to put this on the next agenda to,
If you want to authorize advertisement tonight, it's on the
Has to be
agenda.
advertised. we
I'm
can advertise
fine.
it this evening?
Yeah.
Okay,
So it would be advertised, but to advertise it, since it's a zoning amendment, not only do we advertise it, we have to send it to the two planning commissions. We have to give them 30 days. So the earliest this could be adopted would be in July.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. Peter, read off the,
The motion?
thank you.
Yeah, I'll put forth a motion, if you wish to adopt it, the motion to authorize the solicitor to forward the draft data center ordinance to the county planning commission and the township planning commission in accordance with the MPC, and also to advertise its a hearing for its adoption at a future Board of Supervisors meeting.
Okay, the motion is made. Would someone like to
Also move.
so move? Is there a second? Terry Sachs seconds. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, next is public comment. Do we have any public? Okay, I have Gary Bunn or Linda J. You want to take Gary there? Go ahead, Gary.
Hi. I'm Gary Bonner, Fulmer Road in
Could you
Spring
speak
Mountain.
up a little bit, Gary? You're kind of faint.
Okay, can you hear me? Is this, I'd like to go back to the lighting, or I'm sorry, to the sign discussion for a minute.
Sure.
Um, the EAC has been working with the Planning Commission on a lighting ordinance. We just sent a draft last week. There is a sign provision in it, and we'd just like to encourage that any sign that the township puts up would comply with, the proposed provisions.
So you're asking that the township comply with the provisions of the lighting ordinance that you forwarded last week? Is that what you were saying?
Yes.
Okay, Jason, did you receive that? Okay. Can you ensure that that gets looked at and when Becky circles through, see if it meets it? Yeah, we'll take a look at it. Okay. You guys also have that. Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Gary.
All right, thank you.
Okay. LJ?
Can you hear me now? I was muted.
Okay, there you are. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Linda Jansen, Simmons Road. My comment is twofold. One, I want to give a great shout out to the Lower Frederick Police Department, especially Officer Louder. Right before the meeting, about 6 o'clock, about an hour before the meeting, I had a very unsettling and troubling event on my property. I had left my driveway for maybe 10 minutes, and when I returned, there were three adolescent youths on e-bikes. And I'm sure people familiar with the township have seen this group of 2 to 3 boys that, and they were breaking into my vehicles, rooting around, going through them. When I confronted them, they were very flippant. They did not want to leave. I told them I would be calling the police, and they took off on their little e-bikes and went up the hill. Thank the Lord, Officer Lowler just happened to be at the right place at the right time. She was on Little Road because I spoke with her afterwards. They probably just got to the top of Simmons Road by the time she apprehended them. They were blatantly trespassing. I did not notice anything missing. I think because of the short time of myself being away, they didn't have a chance to take anything if that was their intention. Now, I've been a curious youth in the past, and I'm sure I have trespassed on other people's property in my lifetime, but I've never physically gone into buildings or like broken into vehicles, and the one fellow was inside one of my cars. And like I said,
I'm sorry to hear that happened to you, but I'm glad that our
it was
police were there to assist
it
you as
was
soon as
very
possible, Linda. Thank you
troubling
so much.
and very upsetting. And as I said, I've seen this same group of boys. Sometimes it's only two. Today it was three. Um, they use the paved roads on Melbourne Hill as I think their own little racetrack. They're often on Simmons Road. Little Road. I've seen them at the CVS, zipping around Circle Drive. And the thing is, after the fact, I looked it up.
Linda,
Yes.
Linda, thank you for bringing this to our attention. Unless
Well, may I continue,
Officer
please?
Cass has something to say to that, we would like to move on with the rest of our meeting, but thank you for bringing that
One
up.
thing I would like to say is, after the fact, I researched it, and to drive these e-bikes on public highways, they're treated as a bicycle, yet I believe Pennsylvania law says you have to be over 16 years of age. And these individuals did not look to be 16 years of age. So, Officer Lauer has their names and their addresses, which they refused to give to me, and
Linda,
also spoke with
Linda,
their parents.
Linda, it's Chief Cass.
Hi, Chief Cass.
we will take the proper enforcement with the e-bikes as well as the people trespassing. I'm not familiar with the incident, but I can assure you that we will take all the enforcement necessary.
I appreciate that. And the property is posted on either side of my driveway where they were. So they have no excuse as to why they were doing that. And I also want to send a warning to the community that if they're so emboldened that they will do this when, the property owner's there, especially with the vacation season coming up, best to secure your vehicles, your property, and keep your peepers peeled for these kids. And I appreciate it. But again, great shout out to the Lower Frederick Police Department for their quick response. And hopefully this will not happen to another resident within our township. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you so much. Is there any other public comment? Okay, not seeing anyone. Is there any supervisor comment? I have one thing to say. I would like to give a shout out, Chief Cass, Officer Lauer, on your 5-year. As of yesterday, they were with Lower Frederick Township for 5 years, and yesterday was their official swearing-in day, 5 years ago. So
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Not seeing any. This meeting is adjourned.